Good morning, Illini, and welcome back to another Healthy Illini podcast. As always, I'm Matt Schrock, and I'm thrilled to join you today. Welcome to the second part of our four-part series on the Student Affairs units. Today, we're talking all things Counseling Center here on campus, so let's jump right in. I'm thrilled to be joined today by two guests from the Counseling Center who are coming to share with us a little bit what the Counseling Center is, what it does, what has happened this past semester, and what we're looking forward to in the spring semester. But let me introduce them real quick. Our first guest is Dr. Bill Burkhout. He's the Assistant Director of Outreach and Prevention Services with the Counseling Center. He's a licensed clinical psychologist who got his Doctor of Psychology from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology and his Bachelor's of Science in Psychology and History right here at UIUC. Dr. Burkhout, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I'm also joined by Margot Spencer. She is a graduate assistant with the Counseling Center and is currently earning her Master's of Social Work with a focus on mental health. Margot, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we could spend a four-part series, or longer, honestly, just on the Counseling Center, about what it is, all the intricacies of the resources there, the approach, all those types of things. But I do want to give a quick overview of what the Counseling Center does and some of the things offered through your unit. So if you were going to share just a few main ideas, or maybe a couple things students might not be aware of about the Counseling Center, what might those be?
Yeah, I think, like you said, we could definitely do a lot more than we have time for today. But I think for most students, it's going to be coming from either the counseling or the outreach side. We also have training opportunities that I think Margot can maybe speak to a little bit more too. But counseling can look like a whole bunch of different things. It could be group, it could be individual, it could be one session, it could be a few sessions. So just kind of being open to whatever the student's need is, and pretty much all needs are valid.
We also do a number of workshops. That's kind of the outreach that Bill alluded to. We do workshops on requests for different groups, workshops about just different topics that are of interest to college students. So test anxiety, stress management, things like that. And we also do drop-ins that you can find on our website, something that students might not know about, but we do drop-in workshops that are fully on Zoom, about mindfulness and intuitive eating and topics like that.
Well, before we get into some of those ideas and things that are happening and things that are going to happen, if a student's listening to this and hears something and says, oh, that sounds interesting, or just wants to find out more information, or wants to set up a meeting of some sort, how would they go about doing that? How do they reach out to the Counseling Center and get an appointment or a time or just information that way?
Well, I definitely want to point to our website. That's one of our information hubs. So there's information on all of our services, all the things we do on there. But as far as counseling services, if somebody really wants to set up an appointment, we do both same-day counseling appointments. They can schedule it in the morning, typically, or we do online scheduling. So that's something that we are piloting this semester. That was in response to student requests, and it's something that we're trying to do to just kind of expand our access.
And as always, we'll have resources listed in the episode description. We always make sure that we have those for you. So if you're curious about how to find the website, it's really simple. Go to the description and we'll have it listed there. You made a comment just now about student feedback and trying to adjust and expand a little bit to what's wanted. I'm not sharing anything revolutionary here. We all know the last 2 years have been interesting, to say the least, with the pandemic, with shutdowns and mandates and regulations and just the changing landscape constantly. There has been a push for a focus on mental health. And it's a good thing, but with that emphasis, students are looking for assistance and guidance more than ever. So just looking back over the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, how is the Counseling Center adapting to what feels like this constantly changing world in order to be effective as possible and to give as many options as possible?
I would say it's just constant adaptation. It's shift after shift, trying to be mindful and listen to the campus. What are the student needs? What are the current needs of campus partners? Things like that. Some of the things that we've done, the pandemic has helped us streamline a lot of our services. So it used to take 90 minutes for an initial appointment. Students would have to come in, they'd have to come to the waiting room, fill out paperwork in person. Now we've been able to do that through electronic delivery. So that kind of lessens the time that somebody would be in the waiting room, and we can get them into the appointment a little quicker. We were able to do telehealth, when it wasn't safe to meet in person. So now a lot of our services have moved back to in-person services. Our groups are still remaining online. We just don't have a safe way to get that many people in a confined space for an hour and a half. But that's something that hopefully, we can safely return to in-person groups at some point in the future too.
One of the things that I think has been really interesting for me and good for me is that the concept of mental health has really widened. The net for mental health has really widened. Whereas there's been a stigma with mental health over the years, and many of us in Counseling Center McKinley are working hard to combat that in a lot of ways. But often for a lot of people, when they think mental health or think mental health professional, they think therapy for some sort of like psychosis or strictly for depression or even ADHD or like that. But mental health is a much bigger idea, and it just be self-care and things like that. And Margot, you mentioned it in your workup before we started, sustainable self-care, and I really liked what you were saying. So would you share a little bit about what you meant by sustainable self?
Yeah, so sustainable means kind of like it is ongoing throughout your day. It's something that you continue to do. It's a choice, it's an action that's ongoing. And so some examples of that might be practicing kinder self-talk with yourself throughout the day, or setting boundaries and maintaining those, as far as maybe your plans or the people that you hang out with. It can be saying no to plans, things like that. And these are just little things. Taking care of your physical health. I mean, I know we're with McKinley right now. Like that's something that you really want to focus on. And those are just things that you can do throughout the day a little bit more that, again, I feel like they're harder to do because you have to pay more attention to what your body and mind needs. But when you can do that, I think it is really helpful in the long run for mental health.
And I think this is a key point where the counseling center comes in to help, because college students, I remember my days of college, I did this a lot. You kind of run in bursts, or you ride the wave where, like, I'm going to focus on this right now, and then I'm going to focus on this next. I'm going to focus on this right now, I'm going to focus on this next. And so I'm going to focus on my studies, and I'm going to let my self-care kind of wane. And then also I'm going to focus on self-care, but I'm going to push my studies aside, and I have to catch up on my studies. It's that kind of constant shifting of little pockets of focus. And where if you can do sustainable, where it's daily, that helps even that out and helps balance it out. But for a lot of people, that's really tough transition. This is where the counseling center can come and really be helpful, because you can come alongside. And this is where I really feel it's an opportunity for a student to come and say, hey, look, I'm just looking for somebody to help kind of talk to, kind of support me a little bit, give me some tips. And I think that's something, would you agree that's something the counseling center can do really well?
Absolutely. And I think, like you said, we're expanding our understanding of what mental health is. It's beyond symptoms, it's beyond diagnoses. We're also expanding our idea of what, treatment is and what intervention can be and what support can look like. So obviously there's that traditional sense, you come into the counseling center, you sit in a room with a counselor and you talk. That can be really helpful. So for a lot of people, that's really effective. For others, maybe it's engaging in an outreach. Maybe it's engaging with one of our teams that's doing an activity with a campus partner. So there's lots of ways that we can expand our knowledge of how to support, how to intervene with different kinds of distress.
And that leads us right into the next part. I do want to take some time and talk about things that happened in the fall semester. And we talked about with student affairs, the student affairs offices. We went through the pandemic and the shutdown, and students were off campus or were living on campus, but the classes weren't happening on campus. And then we hit the fall, and there was this, everyone was trying to figure out, how do we integrate back? How do we come back to some sense of quote unquote normal activity? How do we do this? How do we best support? So what were some things that happened this fall that you were able to do at the counseling center, some outreaches, things like that you really thought went well, or you were just really excited about to see how they occurred?
Yeah, I mean, I think my mind goes straight to our outreach, doing a lot of the things on campus, just things with campus partners, as I've said, we partner with a lot of different departments on campus. We have liaisons. One thing I want to highlight too is our embedded counselors. We have embedded counselors in a lot of different departments on campus and different colleges. But our Finish Strong campaign just ended. So that's something that we focus on self-care again, and being able to manage stress and kind of approach things as finals are coming and stress is up, making sure that you're incorporating that. We had our No Body Shaming Week a couple months ago. So that was a great week that our eating disorders outreach team put together and collaborated with a bunch of other different teams just on body positivity, increasing awareness, increasing self-acceptance. And then in September, we had our Suicide Prevention Week. So that was where we were out on campus trying to raise awareness, reduce stigma, and really just find ways to connect people to different levels of support.
I especially appreciate what you did with the Suicide Prevention Week, because we know that this whole process for everyone, adults, students, teenagers, it doesn't matter, through the whole pandemic has been a very taxing thing mentally, and it's hard. And sometimes you feel like, especially since we've been so isolated, you feel like you're so alone. And so I really appreciate, when I was reading about that stuff and following along with it, I really appreciate the work the Counseling Center does there, and then with everything else to finish strong, and the no body shaming, and the workshops on request across campus you talked about, the embedded counselors. It's just, there's a lot happening at the Counseling Center this past semester that was just very focused on students and very focused on supporting and walking alongside and engaging to make sure that the campus was able to give the best possible environment for students to come back from an unprecedented time into another unprecedented time. Sure. So I really appreciate everything we've seen on that. And if you have any questions on that, again, you can reach out. We're happy to share more details on the things that have happened. But that also leads into things that are coming. And I talked about this with student affairs, the student affairs units, is that when you come on campus in the fall, students are like, oh, it's new, it's exciting. I'm going to find something. I'm going to find this new thing. I want to try this new thing. I'm back on campus. And then you come back in the spring semester, there's often this idea of, I already know what's going on. I already got it all figured out. I got my routine. I got my friends and all these things. But there's stuff happening in the spring that you may not be aware of. There's stuff going on that students can take advantage of that you don't want to overlook, because there's opportunities in the spring as well. So as we look forward to 2022, which is still strange for me to say already, but looking forward to 2022, what are some things that are happening on campus through the Counseling Center that students should be on the lookout for?
Well, you can definitely be on the lookout for our Tuesday at 7 workshops. They're open to all students. They're right in the name, Tuesdays at 7. Our posters are all over campus, and there's also information on locations on our website. So that's definitely something to look for. Also, those daily mindfulness and intuitive eating drop-ins that you can come in, those are all on Zoom. And so whether you want to come in person and hang out at a Tuesday at 7 or just drop in, be on Zoom, we are there for you there.
And I think I'd also like to highlight our social media. That's definitely a big push that we're doing to increase our presence on social media. So, students can subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's tons of useful videos on there, from stress management to how to access counseling to reducing stigma. I mean, pretty much any topic. We've got a whole library of videos that students can access. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and coming soon this spring, we're launching a TikTok account. So we'll have some TikTok videos that we're going to be putting out there, and students should check them out.
And I know for me, when I first heard TikTok, because I do have a teenage daughter, when I first heard TikTok, my thought was dancing videos, that's what it is. But there are whole communities on TikTok. I'm actually part of it now. I have a singing community. That's where I hang out with. But there's crafts, there's home improvement, there's self-care, and there's professional groups that have TikToks. And so I'm really excited. Honestly, I'm really excited to hear that and see when it kicks off, to see what's brought to the table by the Counseling Center, because I think it's just like this podcast. It's just another net to cast and see if we can catch somebody who might need some help, who might just want somebody to talk to, who might just want somebody to come alongside and walk along them on that journey. And I know that's what the Counseling Center focus is. It's what our focus is here at McKinley and Student Affairs in general. So I'm really excited to hear that. Just if we're almost out of time. It seems like it flies by every single time, but we're almost out of time. And so just as we close, if you could give me just a quick, this is what the Counseling Center is in mission and in spirit. Bill, how would you describe that for a student who's like, well, what is the Counseling Center? What would you say the heart of the Counseling Center is?
We're here for support. So whatever that looks like, whatever it is somebody needs, if you feel like you might have a need, you probably do, and reach out. We can collaborate. We'll work with you, and we'll find whatever kind of support is going to best meet your needs.
And I would echo that, in that, all student affairs units, we're here because we care about students. That's our focus. We care about students, and we want to do the best we can to help support whatever that is. And as the world has always been changing, but as the world seems to be drastically changing right now in resources and the way things are aligned, we want to be here to help. So I appreciate you saying that, because I think that's such a vital thing. Bill, Margot, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate having you guys on.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Student Affairs is an active and vibrant part of the UIC community, and the Counseling Center is a vital part of that. They're here to assist and support, and we've listed resources and ways to contact them in the episode description. As always, we'd love to hear from you. Tell us what you liked about the podcast. Tell us how we can improve, questions you have, or if you just want to connect on any topic we've covered, let us know. We'll be happy to speak with you. We'd love to join you on the path you're on. Thank you for joining us today. You are on a personal journey no matter where you are in it. You are important and you matter. Your health and wellness are important and matter, and we are here to keep you well to excel. So go have a great week, Illini. Let us know how you're doing, and we'll catch you next time on Healthy Illini.